You are sacred love, sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are deepest peace, deepest peace is all that you are. You are deepest peace, God, deepest peace is all that you are. Oh. Let us just know that God is the deep peace that resides within each and every one of us. And it is that which we can touch, we can know, and we can be informed by. We can allow peace and love and truth to form us, to form our thoughts, our emotions, and our reactions to things. Now, we are either conditioned by the conditions of the world, or we are conditioned by the presence and the power and the love of God that lives within. We choose. You know, it's written in one of those beautiful holy books called the Bible, just one of many holy books. Choose you this day whom you will serve. Will we serve the world and it's clamoring for our attention? Or will we serve that deep peace that resides within our soul, within our consciousness? And to serve that means that we become an instrument of that. We become an instrument of God's peace, an instrument of God's love, an expression of divine life. And in that life, we find that we flourish and we thrive and we bear fruit that blesses others. Choose you this day. Choose you this day. And then it was written in the holy book, for myself and my household, we will choose to serve God. What do you choose? To choose God is to choose a peace that passes understanding, a love that heals, and a life that thrives. I choose that. So quietly within your own mind, your own heart, your own soul, choose. And let the good times roll. And so it is. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. There are a few of us in the room, all four of us. That will be changing very soon, but still, for so many years, I would say, I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful that you could spend time with us. And it's like, no, it's like, I'm so grateful I'm with you. And I'm so grateful that you have brought us into your environment. And I hope that you are blessed by the message and the motivation of today. The motivation. My motivation is that you are inspired to remember who you are and that you are empowered to live that. Because it's one thing to be inspired and it's another thing to be empowered. So I'm hoping that both of those things happen to you today. One of the best things about this service is what you're going to watch now. Aaron English has gone, first of all, he's a wonderful singer, a wonderful songwriter, a wonderful musician, and he's done a wonderful video by bringing in people from all over the world. You're going to love this. Here's Aaron English.
Strange moon rising, the sun sets in the east and the stars fall from the sky. But I'm not afraid to face this darkness. I could lose all I have, but I still got my pride. Yeah, just like that. Come on, head up, just like that. Yeah, just like that. Gotta carry that weight like that. Hey, can't take my pride. Steady on, hold on, can't take my pride.
African lioness, no cat. Brown, black, white, stop that. One people, one race, stay fat. Time to break the mental chain and connect. Change the way that we think and protect the children and the women, that's the future if you check. Mama Africa needs you, needs me. Keep fighting, don't stop, grow love.
Keep on moving, all you fighters, all you lovers, hold on tightly, hold on tight. Yeah, just like that. Come on, head up, just like that. Yeah, just like that. Gotta carry that weight like that. Hey, can't take my pride. Steady on, hold on, can't take my pride. Hey, can't take my pride. Like a lion, can't take my pride. Hey, can't take my pride. Steady on, hold on, can't take my pride. Hey, can't take my pride. Like a lion, can't take my pride.
Let's go. You can't really move me, pride intact. Got so lack, I'm coming full force. You better move back. I'm on my own, but I'm not alone. We all in it together, you blood and bones. Time to rally up, people no more divide. Nowhere to hide, kick the hate aside. Go with love, cause that's the vibe. That's our legacy, that's our pride.
Keep your head up, keep on moving. All you fighters, all you lovers, hold on tightly, hold on tight.
Wow. Keep on moving, all you fighters, all you lovers, hold on tight. Because I'm telling you, what I'm realizing is that I still have to remember that some of the words that I love most about our founder, Ernest Holmes, was that we must be a people who are for something and against nothing. And it's so easy to be against. It is so easy to be against this and against this and against this and against this and against this, because in the world, as a human being, I don't like it. I just don't like it. And we can all have our favorite againsts. We can be, there's just so much to be against. I can't even pick one. I'm against us polluting the earth. I'm against us not refurbishing and renewing the soil. I'm against air pollution. I'm against animal cruelty. I'm against this. I'm against isms. I'm against I'm against discrimination, which means I discriminate against those who discriminate. How many of you have been there? There's stuff that can just hurt the heart. And then, I love that, but that last thing is, would I be for, and can I take a stand for, the kind of love that heals, that is not a sentimentality, it is not a Hallmark card, it is not, well, let's just get along. It is a love that transforms. It's the kind of love that St. Francis had. It's the kind of love that Martin Luther King had. It's the kind of love that Gandhi embodied. It's the kind of love that the saints and the mystics could work miracles with, and it's the kind of love that was proclaimed and taught by this man named Joshua ben Joseph, who somehow became Jesus. And his last name was not Christ. And so today, I'm in the second part of a 5-part series about the life of Jesus and how it can be an example for my life. Because he did say, "Follow me," and I think in a way, when I read that, I've always thought it meant, "You follow me?" But I think he was really saying, do what I do and live the way I live, and you'll have the results that I have. He had a way of being. What we call Christians didn't call themselves Christians for so long. It was just that was made up and sort of put on a whole way of believing. What they called themselves were followers of the way. A way that works. A way that transforms. A way that elevates. A way that heals. A way of miracles. One of the things I said first service, which was series 1, is that for a long time I didn't talk about Jesus because so many people had ideas about Jesus. I didn't want to offend anybody or their idea, and therefore I didn't share my ideas. And my idea has just as much validity as most other people's ideas. I have done a lot of research, not just researching the way it's always been taught and then rehearsing that, although I did when I was a born-again Christian in my teens and early 20s, but researching the history and how things were added and when things were set in stone almost. And now I'm going back to the original, like to study the life of Jesus as though it were a living parable that I could live with, or live by, I should say. A living parable. I will just share that I'm inspired by the words of Joel Goldsmith, who was a New Thought Christian mystic, and he said, "There is enough spiritual reading in your Bible so that no words of my own are necessary. The Gospel according to John is enough. No other book is really necessary. If you could catch the spiritual vision of that book, you would need no other metaphysical books. It is the most spiritual writing known to man." He probably meant known to women too, but that was the way they talked then. Just being inclusive. And then Emma Curtis Hopkins says, thus the walk of Jesus Christ through this realm of carnal or earthly experiences is at every step of his going a living teaching of what to do under all kinds of experiences that we may have, in order that we may show forth the Christ, or let the same mind be in us that was in Christ Jesus. So, first service, I started out with a little bit about, in the beginning was the Word. I gave an explanation about that. Since I'm trying to say what he did, I'm studying what he did. What did he do? Because if we do those things, it's taking step by step by step into the unfoldment, consciously cooperating with the unfoldment of our spiritual magnificence. See, it's going to happen anyway. And I've heard that we're all going to heaven either kicking or screaming or dancing. So the dancing is the conscious participation in the unfoldment of our spiritual magnificence, our own divinity. And this story helps. For those of you that have read the Gospels, the four of them, there's 3 synoptic Gospels that are all kind of related and use the same source work, and then there's the Gospel of John, and he doesn't, There's only one story in John that shows up in all the others. And I'll get to that, hopefully, today. But it was written at least 100 years after Jesus died, so it was really not so much a detailed description of what he said and what happened, because after 100 years, no one was around that was there then. But it is a collection of stories that were told so that people could use those stories to move into consciousness. It was a living parable. And parables are meant to be interpreted not so much by our conscious mind, but also by our soul. So let's move into some of the things that he did. The first thing that he did in this story, in these storylines, besides collecting his posse, after he collected his posse, he went to a wedding in Cana. And he took his posse with him, what we call disciples. His mother was there, a bunch of family members was there. I went to Cana. I just have to say I went to Cana. And I don't know what I was expecting, but you go down an alley with lots of places selling things and lots of homes and things, and there's this little spot where there's 3 different chapels that 3 different Christian denominations have built around a place that they say was the place where the wedding took place. And I'm not sure, how they knew, because I was looking, and even though I can't read Arabic or Hebrew, it seems like somebody would have written, Jesus was here at the wedding, but nobody did. But what they did find was a huge stone jar, about this high, large. And so they said since they found it, it had to be the place where the wedding was, because he's going to turn those stone jars filled with purified water into wine later in this story. Let me just get to it. But I thought, well, I bet there was more than one stone jar in Canaan, but that's okay. It was fun to kind of be there. And then we were surrounded by people, and when I take a group, I'd love to have us, I had this vision of us walking through the life of Jesus, and we were crowded. Even though the virus was breaking out and people were afraid of it, man, those places were crowded. So there's nowhere to get the group together so we could do a ceremony and talk about this. So I'll do that now. A parable is a story that is more about consciousness than it is about what happened. So the stories, for instance, you've probably heard the parables about the man sowing the seed. It's not about the sowing the seed. It's what is God sowing in mind or our mind, and are we receptive to the good word? You see, it's about what's happening in the soul. So the same thing's happening with this marriage ceremony. And both Joel Goldsmith Emma Curtis Hopkins say that the real story is, are we willing to have our soul be one with spirit? Are we willing to have a marriage? Are we willing to let the two become one? Now, they already are one, but since we consciously think we're not one, are we willing to consciously entertain the idea that we are one, and we're willing to vow? Are we willing to vow that we will cooperate with that unity? Are we willing to seek it and put it first in our life, just like you would with a marriage? When the two separate families come together and two people, it used to be a bride and a groom, and now, nah. Anyway, we appreciate all kinds of sacred unions and marriages. We stand for that. Anyway, but you get two people together and they say, you know what? I am going to forsake all of these other distractions, and I'm going to give my attention to you, my love. And I'm going to accept attention from you, my love. Are we willing to do that with spirit? Jesus at that wedding did that with spirit. It is the beginning of the atonement, which means at one-ment. And that's why he could say the Father and I are one. And by the way, the word Father was really origin. Another word for it could be an origin. The origin and I are one. I'm one with the beginning. That's why he could say, I'm the beginning and the end. I'm the Alpha and the Omega. If you've seen me, you've seen the actions of the Father. It's not my will, it's that which is within me that will doeth these things. Don't call me good. You see that when you are so one with the divine, when the finite makes an agreement to be an expression of the infinite, then a sacred marriage comes along. Actually, sacred marriage and the idea of that was really promoted in many Gnostic gospels. Gnostic meaning this idea of gnosis, to know God personally, which most of those were, there was a huge attempt to rid acceptable literature of the Gnostic Gospels when the church became very, very organized. Because Gnosticism, or knowing, direct knowing of God, didn't work with the plan of hierarchy of church. And in those Gnostic Gospels, there was much literature about seeking a sacred union. I got it here. There, I got it. So this is the first thing that happens. After he's got his spiritual tribe, he's collected his posse to support him, he makes a vow to say, okay, I'm going to give my attention to the infinite so that the infinite can move through me. A holy union empowers the individual, and it's also, a holy union is more empowering than some of the metaphors that we use to describe our connection with the divine. That I'm one with God, that I have a holy union with God, is more empowering than I'm a child of God. And I'm a child of God is more empowering than I'm a worm of the dust. But still, a child of God has to be disciplined. You have to ask. You get an allowance. You'll get rewarded when you grow up. If you're good, you get rewarded. If you're not good, you have time out. If you're in a sacred union, it's community property. That's why Jesus could say, all it is mine. I don't need to prove anything because I'm one with everything. That's the consciousness that he was going for. And he said, even greater things than these ye shall do also, if you follow in my footsteps. Are we willing to have a holy union with the divine? Are we willing to seek it, foster it, pay attention to it, keep our vows? I could do a whole nother shtick on vows that people make, but a vow that I would suggest is, I covenant with the Holy Spirit for the ease and the grace of my life. And I'll do nothing to make myself graceful or live life easily, for it is the action of the Holy Spirit moving through me. Something like that. That's a nice vow. After he's made this covenant, he sought first the kingdom, or he's seeking first the revelation of this heavenly plan, of this beautiful working out of the universe. He finds himself doing the first miracle. Now, when I say finds himself, it's not like he set it up. Actually, his mother comes to him and says, guess what? They ran out of wine. They go on for a long time. Weddings went on for 3 days. It was the third day. They were out of wine. I don't know who was embarrassed, but somebody was. And you know how some of us are? We have to make it right. So his mom needed to make it right, I guess. And so she called upon her son to do something about it. Now, there's so many interpretations of this, but it's a parable. But I just think that sometimes mothers know how really, truly gifted their children are, even before their children know how really gifted they are. I think sometimes mothers know how brilliant their children are, even before their children know that they're brilliant. There's that interpretation. Another interpretation is that mother was the Holy Mother, the holy divine feminine that speaks to all of us and is the instructor of all of us. But one of them is saying, guess what? This is yours to solve. Now I ask you, how many of you, because this is following in his footsteps, how many of you have had the inspiration that you are to do something and you don't feel up to it now? I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Well, Jesus sort of did that. He said, it's not my time. She said, you can do something here. I don't know what you're going to do, but I know you can handle it. Oh, it's not my time. I'm not ready. Don't ask. That's the way it works. I teach this particular class, what would Jesus do to ministers? And I ask them, how many of you have had an inspiration that you know came from something beyond yourself, and you turned down the instruction because you didn't think you were ready? And every single minister raised their hand. I think every single person who is moving into the life divine on that spiritual walk will have a time when they're called to do something and they'll go, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready. But he does it anyway. The water jugs, they dip into it and it's wine. I'm not sure that happened, but this is a parable which says that something ordinary can become magnificent if we let God get involved. See, the master of ceremonies, when he drank the wine, said, oh, goodness, this is different than any wedding I've ever been to, because they pulled out the good stuff later. Metaphorically, it's when God's involved, ordinary things become sublime. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I've been praying or chanting or listening to music that really inspires me, I'll look at something and I'll go, wow, how did it get so beautiful? That ordinary thing becomes divine. Now, let me give you a real life experience so that you get an idea of what this is like. I teach a class called Inward Journey. And in Inward Journey, the first part of Inward Journey, the first two terms, there are 6 classes each. And so we teach 6 lessons, and then there's 6 more lessons. But in the break between these 2 terms, I give the assignment that the students must break up in twos and teach those 6 lessons to other people. People that go to this church, don't go to this church, neighbors, friends, family members. They can't have more than 10 or less than 4. And they have to teach what they just learned. And I've taught this so many times, and every single time they go, but we're not ready. I don't know. I don't think we can. Do we have to now? I'm not sure we know how. I don't know how to. And you know what? I make them do it, kind of like the mama in this story. And they teach it, and they go, wow, I had no idea. I knew so much. In teaching, I realized that I know. In teaching, I realized that I know. Some of those groups are still going on. We've had people in Mexico, across the country. They're still going on. Miracles are happening. And all they're doing is 6 steps. If we're really listening, the divine feminine is always going, come on. You can do this. Come on. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And just another little thing I want to share because I thought it was appropriate for this particular part of the lesson. I took last Sunday off because I went to watch a horse show. And I was at my barn with other people and the trainer who is training us to go to horse shows, and one of the people at the barn says, so are you going to the next horse show? And I said, I don't think I'm ready. And she said, I've been doing this for years. You're never ready. You'll never think you're ready. Just go to the horse show. See, we don't think we're ready to have that conversation. We don't think we're ready to forgive. We don't think we're ready to start saving. We don't think we're ready to get out of debt. We don't think we're ready to get a better job. We don't think we're ready to have more friends. Just do it. If you're inspired to have the thought that was inspired in you will inspire the way for you to fulfill that thought. If it expresses more life and harms no one, it's God's idea for you. Go for it. You're ready. Let's just know. I want you to just feel the hand on your head and go, oh, I'm ready. It's okay. Actually, that quite hurt, so never mind. Don't push too hard. Now, the thing that I want to get back to, and I see that next week we're going to talk about the method of miracle working, which is the only. Remember, I said that there was only one story that shows up in John that was in all the rest of the synoptic gospels, and that's the feeding of the 5,000. I'm going to get into that next week. But what I want to go back to right now is what we call miracles will be awesome normalities when what we seek is our oneness with God. When we go back to that vow, when we go back to that sacred marriage, when we go back to Jesus saying, I want to be one with that which created me. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if I put it down here. Maybe I did. In the Old Testament, it says, thy maker is thy husband. And it also says, I will put my name upon thee. When we seek that closeness, when we seek our right to be blessed, to be cared for. You know, now that I'm working with this, I see that God is my protector, my provider, and my promoter. God protects me like a husband would a wife. And this goes for gentlemen too, because when it says, thy maker is thy husband, it was talking to men as well as women, of course. So when we see God as our protector, we don't have to be so defensive. When we see God as our provider, we let ideas come to us that will help us create channels for support, whether it's emotionally, financially, or intellectually. So God is our protector, our provider, and our promoter. So many of us want to build ourselves up. No, let God build you up. Otherwise, it's just, you're going to have to be working at it all the time. Far better to just let God lift you. But let God lift you. Let God lift you. Let God promote you. I was just, I think it was, I'm pretty sure that it was Beverly who was saying, Aaron is so good, he needs to be famous. Aaron, if you're watching this, let God promote you because you are fabulous. Rafe is fabulous. Stephanie Ann is fabulous. Levon Hardison is fabulous. We have so many, Joel is fabulous. We have so many fabulous musicians. Let God promote you. What if you are doing something that's of service to the world? Let God promote you. Let him lift you up. Jesus said, if I be lifted up, which means the Christ, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men to me. And he met women. You know how it is. There was, we're breaking out of patriarchy. We'll get there. So I'm going to leave it with that. Let's do a prayer that God is our provider. God is our protector. God is our promoter. That we allow ourselves to keep those vows. I will seek first that which is within me. I will seek first that kingdom which is within and without. I will seek first my knowledge of my intimate interrelationship with the infinite. I will seek that first, and I will allow my life to unfold in the glory of God, and for the glory of God, and for the benefit and blessing of everything around me. This is not for me. I do not know God for me. I do not know God so I can get what I want. I know God because then everything flourishes. Everything is made new. So I give thanks that I now, and I'll just say this prayer, I'm going to say it slowly, say it with me, say it after me. Make it your prayer if it feels comfortable. Father, Mother, God within. This day I do vow to seek a conscious awareness of our eternal oneness. I vow to remember my blessings and to open my heart with gratitude. I vow to stop my pity party. And I vow to stop feeling like a victim every time something happens. I vow, and I may fall and I may forget, but I vow to remember again. And I take you, my intimate, beautiful awareness of the divine, I take you as my protector, as my provider, and as my promoter. I take you as my one. And know that in that oneness, all my relationships are blessed. And you will show up to me as family and friends who support and protect and encourage me. You are my one. And remind me of these vows when I want to go rogue and go back to my individuality all by myself, all alone. It's only me. Remind me of this vow, that I may walk forward and participate in the spiritual unfoldment of not only myself, but of our planet. And so it is. Amen.